still free. You can't take the sky from me. Take me out to the black. Tell them I ain't coming back. Burn the land, boil the sea. You can't.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is going to be kind of a part one series of reviews for this optic. I've gotten it zeroed. I've taken it out a couple of times and just gotten used to it. Just kind of get into the rhythm of how the optic sits on the rifle and how it overall feels behind the gun, because you know there are so many optics out there and there's so many choices out there. This is the first time I've actually had to, like, where does this optic sit? Now, on something like my aim points or my the X1 Riton, they are distinct optics that go on distinct firearms because of the size of them. This one being a reflex style sight where it's more like a Trijicon RMR, Hollow Sun 407, 507, all those series of optics. It's going to sit in that pistol ram or something like this where it sits on a very low mount setup like this. Right off the bat, it zeroed fairly easy. It was no big deal to it. It was simple process. I did have the issue of not being able to use the rear sight, but it does have a wide enough rear notch on it that you can caveman EOTech this at close ranges. We pushed it out to 100, maybe 150 yards. I was walking them in at that point, but you can see that at short distances with this, it wouldn't be no issue to actually run it like a caveman EOTech, where you're actually taking the rear sight and bottoming and out at the front sight. And basically, if you know what an EOTech reticle looks like, is a big circle with a dot in the middle, you're doing kind of the similar thing with this. So it makes it a dual purpose sight, so you can still use almost a reflexive style shooting at those close ranges. But I said earlier, where does this optic really sit in? And that's kind of where I've been thinking about this optic for the last month or so, is where does it fall in? Because all optics, there's no one optic that's going to do everything you need it to do. There's going to be certain things that it does best, some things it fails horribly at. All optics are like that. I don't care. It could be price, it could be mounting options, all that stuff. Big plus on this thing, it is an RMR footprint, so pretty much anything that runs an RMR, you're set. Ding on it is this kind of bigger section on the back where you have that notch in it. It's a positive and a negative kind of thing where you're talking about it when you're talking about rear sights for pistols. My buddy Logan has one on his Glock 43. He put the Duick defense mount on it, cannot see the sights. Because of how this sits and how high it sits, you're not able to actually see the sights on the backup iron sights that are on it. It's a very small set of sights, but it is still a backup set of sights. So you're going to run into issues like that depending on what you're using. They do have another one that is also the X3 PRD. Doesn't have this. Downside of it uses a shield footprint. Nothing wrong with the shield footprint, but it's kind of a universal fit with the RMR footprint. It's kind of the gold standard when it comes to footprints, when it comes to these style reflexive style sights. And if they had went with that, I probably would be having the MPRD on here instead of the PRD. Like I said, it is if you're comfortable using the shield footprint, go with that one. Another positive of it, it's a super clear glass. It gets bright. It's brighter than the X1. I will say that it's completely brighter than the X1 by at least 25%. So I can actually dial it back in a lot of brighter situations and it's still usable. Like I said, the glass is super clear on it. Most of Riton stuff will come out of the box crystal clear. I don't think they have anything that's subpar. I think most of everything they use is pretty much the exact same. So you're getting a good experience across the board no matter which optic you pick up. Battery life is something like 40,000 hours. Change it out once a year. Great thing about this one over something like the RMRs, the older Holosun 507s and stuff like that, the battery is actually sitting on top of the optic, so you just unscrew it, toss you a new battery in. You don't have to re-zero it. Amazing having that, because now, like this one right here, I don't have to re-zero the firearm. I just pull the battery, toss a new battery in once a year. Solid. Downside, it's got 40,000 hours, but it's got an auto shut-off feature every 4 hours. So competition guns like this is kind of becoming like going to be more of a competition style gun, so it's not that big of an issue. Get at the match, turn it on. If it's a long day match, just cycle through it every once in a while. That way you know it's on. And that's where I was trying to figure out where this optic sits, because I'm a guy, especially when it comes to optics, I turn them on, leave them on. Just leave them on, change the batteries out as need fit, usually once a year. Most optics today will last you a year. Even like primary arms, those I've tested 1 year, change out the battery, still good to go. 40,000 hours, but it shuts off every 4 hours. And that's where it got me thinking, where does this optic actually sit when it comes to actual use? What are you going to use it for? The only thing I can actually say that would be this optic would sit in is general range use. So like a competition gun, if you're needing something like a backup backup red dot on an angled sight, or you've got a MMP 22 or something that you're just taking out to the range and have fun with, it's perfect for it. 100% perfect for it. Most competition optic, great. If you're thinking about getting into red dots on pistols, and you're like, well, I've got a 2245, the little Ruger pistols, perfect option, because it's an optic where you're getting your money's worth. You really are. It's not, you're not paying $300-400 to get into some of the Holosuns and the RMRs or SROs and stuff like that, and you're not paying $100 for some cheap knockoff of something off of Amazon. So it's kind of in that in-between section. So I think you really are getting a good optic for the price. The problem is that 4-hour shutoff feature. I can't recommend it for a carry gun because of that that 4-hour auto shutoff feature. Because it's that old phrasing, you plan for the worst, you prepare for the worst and plan set for the best, or however you say it. You set yourself up for success. That's a better way to think about it, like that. You're setting yourself up for success. So now you put this optic on your carry gun. You have to set an alarm every 3 hours and 58 minutes. Every 3 hours and 58 minutes, you have to go somewhere to turn your optic back on. That's kind of an inconvenience that I don't see being useful on any kind of general use when it comes to actually duty use. General use, where it's like, you're going out to the range, you're shooting a competition, more power to you. I think it's perfect for that. But actual duty use or carry use, when you're actually having to, and I hate to say it like this because I think it's a really good optic, and I think for the money it's perfect for most people, it's not an optic you can trust your life with because of that auto shutoff feature. And I hate saying it like that. I like Riton's product. I like what they're doing. This right here, though, if they had a automatic feature where you could actually hold the power button down for 10 seconds and would turn off the auto shutoff feature, I think it'd be a perfect optic for most people to really get their foot in the door when it comes to RMR style optics. But because of that auto shutoff feature, you are chained to setting alarm every 4 hours for the rest of your life while you carry that optic. The problem is, and most people will be like, well, I'll just go into a bathroom or something like that and turn it back on. The problem is, you get swept up in life. Life happens whether you're there or not. So, you can go to a movie with your friends and family, depending on right now, but, you're at these events, sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and you're not paying attention to the time. And your optic's off. Now, you could say, you get good at that reflexive style shooting, and yes, you should know how to shoot an optic if the dot goes down. The problem is, you are planning on the optic going down every time, every 4 hours. And I don't think that's a very piss poor planning is the best way to say it. Having that shut off for every 4 hours means you have to plan around turning it back on every 4 hours. Even at night, I would rather have an optic on, pick it up, put the dot out there, turn the light on, and you could see. Sights are meant to be used. Don't care what anybody says, sights are meant to be used. That's how we hit things. Like I said, you can get good at reflexive style shooting. Then why are you putting an optic on there? You want an optic on there because you want to be more accurate with it. So, having that 4-hour shutoff feature just straight off the bat cuts it out from any kind of daily carry use when it comes to self-defense and any type of LEO or duty use when it comes to something like that. I could not recommend this thing for any heavy duty use. It could last and be torture tested and completely work 100%, but because of that 4-hour shut-off feature, I cannot get behind it. I just cannot. Like, this is a range toy, going out to the range and shooting competitions with it, yes, because I'm not backing my life behind it. I'm not relying on this, to save my life, because I know it's going to fail in 4 hours. It's just cutting off, but it's failing me because the optic is turning itself off. If it had a shake wake feature, something like that would turn back on when you would pick the optic up, 100%, man, it would be just 10 times better. Or you could turn the feature off. It's got 40,000 hours. How many years is that? That's years. But it cuts off every 4 hours, and I hate that. I hate that about it. Like, Riton, please, if you get anything from this, allow this thing to be turned on and left on, or have it where you could actually manually do it. Because some people, they have their gun, they put their optic on, and it sits by the bed or sits in a gun cabinet, safe, whatever, and they don't think about it, and then they go out to the range with it. I'm not that kind of guy. I want the optic to be on when I want it to be on, not when I think it might be on. And that's kind of where it's got me on iffy ground with it. Like I said, besides that, I think it's a good optic. I've used it a little bit now. I've got a few hundred rounds through the rifle with this optic on it, getting it ready for a competition coming up. So I just wanted this as kind of this is where my first impressions with it. I've used other optics, Hollow Suns, RMRs, on other rifles and pistols mainly. And this is the first time using it on a rifle. And it's handled it just fine. It's just that 4-hour shutoff feature. I cannot get behind it. Y'all have a good one. See y'all in the next one.